Oh, no. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and welcome to Behind the Design, where we take a peek behind the door and see what goes into the process of creating the design and assets that you see in everyday life. And today is a miserable, wet day, but we will use the power of AI to create such beautiful and compelling worlds that we will see past the bad weather of today. So thank you for joining in and tuning in. And today we are discussing AI and the death of the photographer. And, over the years, photography has faced a number of challenges as, at one point it was only photographers that could create images. Then over the years, as stock imagery and the internet came in, the ability to get imagery as you needed changed the way that we interact with the designers and has changed the role of photographers in that period. Let's jump into, is this the most used stock image in advertising? So if you aren't running a large hero campaign with a lot of money to prop you up, the way that you create insight, interest, is with the use of stock photography. Now, the thing with stock photography is that if you do use the imagery that's at the top of the site, then you are going to get repetitive reuse of imagery over and over and over again. And this image I have seen in 1,000 different modules, adverts, and sometimes even these free stock imagery hit something that you might see on a billboard or on the side of a bus shelter. So we're going to be talking about how we might use photography in a key visual or a hero visual. Yes, the same image is used for stock health and beauty products all the time. Thank you, Laura. It's super common, right? If you're going to type in something to do with teams or just a few keywords and you pick from the first page of stock imagery, you're going to get that kind of same imagery over and over again. And if you're not paying for exclusive rights or purchasing the usage of that image, and if you think it's a good image, you're going to have other people also keen to use it. So we're going to talk about the key visuals, and these are the images that you use as your sort of tentpole on a campaign. You will reformat them and reuse them to be vertical, horizontal, to be printed, to be on digital. It's much like how when you create your messaging, you want just something short and snappy, and you repeat it over and over again. Just like if you're a politician, you repeat it over and over again. Just like if you were a politician, That's how we get things into people's heads. And we do the same with key visuals or hero imagery. How do we get to the point where we know what key imagery and key visuals we want to use? Well, if it were me, and typically you would have the idea of getting from a challenge, like we need to raise brand awareness or sell a product. We would need to generate an insight through a research phase. Perhaps for this, who is the target market? What are they feeling? How do we communicate with them? And we take everything that we learn and then we formulate our strategy, our sort of hypothesis, picking and choosing the bits of those insights that we want to pull together. And once we know who we're targeting and where we want to go with this campaign, we can start to think about our creative concept. What do we want people to see, feel, remember when they come across this campaign? And this is the bit where you can create that key visual without necessarily knowing how it's going to be applied in multiple different formats. We call that the creative direction. And then as we proceed forward, we start to then take those key visuals and apply them to web banners, the side of a bus, a billboard, or whatever format we want to use it in. So if we were running a wonderful campaign and we wanted to launch something new or celebrate a person or communicate a brand message, we might be thinking we want to do a photo shoot where we create completely bespoke imagery. And we would need to book a location, choose a set, dress it, find actors, book our photographer, maybe book their team, pay for them to post, edit, and supply all that imagery. But we do get typically an amazing outcome. You know, you get bespoke and unique photography that nobody else in the world is ever going to have. If you create a number of images, you can get that creative consistency that you can't get through stock photography. You're very limited, but you can have the same people, the same characters, or just the same emotion and feeling. You have a really easy opportunity to place your brand or product directly into these shots, right? They can hold things that are branded. You can put logos in the background. Very easy to get bespoke, creatively consistent, and highly branded materials out of it. But the downside of doing a photo shoot is that there is an associated cost in all that pre-production into the shoot and then the post-production assets. And so typically when you're working on something smaller or with brands where budgets are more of a constraint or their target market and potential return on this campaign is not sufficient to fund however much a photo shoot might cost, you go with stock images. And we have sites like Getty Images, Shutterstocks, which are paid. You can pay for a license, and that determines how you can use this imagery and what exclusivity, how many people can view it. Or we have free sites like Unsplash, where the licensing terms are a little bit different, but you're not actually purchasing the images, you're getting them and supposed to give accreditation to the photographer. You know, this eliminates that location and set. It eliminates all the process of finding your actors and characters. And in turn, you're paying a license fee to be able to use that imagery. And often that is substantially smaller than the price of shooting and producing a whole shoot. Of course, as we were discussing there with Laura and how the stock images for health and beauty are all the same, you can find that if you really like the image, but you're not prepared to pay for exclusivity, that other people are also going to use it. You do get a high quality image. These are produced by professionals. They're the cream of the crop. They've risen through because the images are clear, well framed, well lit. And if you aren't your AAA brands, often they're good enough for the campaign that you want to do, particularly if you're able to take it a step further and personalize your stock photography in some way to make it more appropriate or to put your brand into it somehow. Now, this is how the lay of the land's been for the last 10, 20 years. But obviously, as we have moved into the 2020s, these AI tools have become more frequently used, much more available, and start to offer an alternative way of doing things to stock photography and to doing bespoke shoots. So, to make this more fun, we are going to play a game of creating some key visuals together online. And to do that, I would like you, if you're on the chat, to put in some comments around what mood you would like the key visual to contain. So already we have things like space, we have fantasy, And then also we are going to be experimenting with potential client brands. So I think we have Lego in there, IKEA or IKEA, as my mum likes to call it. And we're going to smash those together, come up with a quick concept or tagline, and use those to generate our imagery. Which means I think we're going to come over to this screen here. I'm going to move you guys down to this screen over here. And we are going to jump in. So our first concept, we can make the wheel spin. Person, probably only concept, will be space. Lovely. So that's our kind of going to inform our creative concept, and we're going to tie that in. I hope it's not the red cross. And it is the red cross. So somehow we are going to tie together the idea of some sort of space imagery with the ideas of the red cross. So to me, the red cross is about providing medical assistance that is separated from the political context of the event that they're in. And our space theme means we're going to be looking at this idea of it could be escape, or it could be we could be on the oh no, this is going to be terrible, the frontiers of the next war. You know, we're colonizing Mars at the moment, so let's project this forward by 10 years and think about the potential for Red Cross or doing a fundraiser to get to Mars and help with some sort of war there. Wow, what a concept we're going for on a Tuesday afternoon. So in this process, I discovered that MidJourney has recently moved from producing all the artwork through Discord into their own creator. So we're going to give that a go. If you've never heard of it before, MidJourney is a visualizer. You put in a prompt, you can get very specific with your prompts and create these visuals. And they are trained on a lot of photography, so we're able to create a realistic image that maybe we can use for a key visual. So we were going on this I've got something like, if we're thinking 10 years in the future and there's a war on Mars and they need to fundraise to send people there to provide medical care, I mean, there's got to be something like Mars Mars needs you, right? So if we were to put that into a prompt, we got to create a visual, and we are going to imagine let's do something like, I have got some prompts that I am going to nick from my ideas over here. We're going to do something with photography. We are going to use something probably with let's go with, imagine daybreak on the planet Mars. Golden hour, because we love a good sunshine. Golden hour. Light streams over a damaged city on the mountain horizon. We are going to use the tools to make this for now 16 by 9. We've got that set there. We're going to go stylize weirdness, and we're going to go variety. We're going to do raw for that photography. And we're going to see what we get with just a simple prompt with no engineering really at the ends of it. So whilst that happens, in the meantime, there are probably a couple of things to think about whilst doing a MidJourney prompt. Typically, you want to specify your subject. So who should be the key focus, or what should be the key focus of your imagery? Then often important to set the kind of times of day or the lighting requirements that you want so that you can get the kind of color combinations and worth adding them in there. Then towards the end, we can get highly specific in that we can reference existing styles. It could be like an Art Deco or a cyberpunk. We could reference a particular style or photographer. And we could also then use things like specific film stock, specific camera types, specific lenses, so that we're able to really fine-tune this. Now, I'm not 100% happy with the images that we have gotten there. So I think we need to up the color and I mean, part of me wants to use something with a child, but that feels like a low-hanging fruit. Let's go with let's be very literal, a war-torn city on the planet Mars. Daybreak and golden. Born to a new planet planet Mars. Daybreak and golden hour as the sun streams over the mountains in the distance. We want to do 35mm film on the ground, war correspondent. And is there anything else we can add? Polarizing neutral filters. Let's do saturated landscapes, vibrant colors, like things like that. And maybe we can increase some of those settings. Let's do vibrant colors, reduce glare, polish refraction, saturated landscapes. We'll give it a couple more goes, otherwise we will roll the dice again. So as we said, key visual, and then once we are happy with that, we can start to use the tools to fine-tune it and really start to tailor it towards our specific needs. Now we're doing a bit of a, at this point, because we don't have necessarily the strongest concept, throwing a little bit of mud on the wall and seeing what fortuitous graphics we were able to generate through these sort of broad-ish prompts, and then we can see if we can tighten it down as we move further forward. Now, I'm not so happy with these. Let's think one more time. Maybe we're being too literal. Okay, let's do something like we merge a doctor with an astronaut, and then we have them on the surface. So Médecins Sans Frontières. Let's copy and paste that. Check the spelling. Médecins Sans Frontières. On the planet Mars in a Red Cross spacesuit. Let's see if we can still let's do more like street photography. The style of my department around street portraits. We don't want iconic deep red colors, highly saturated, asymmetric balance. Red cross one word. Let's assume it is. So we've got a Médecins Sans Frontières on the planet Mars in a Red Cross spacesuit. Make it one word. In the style of iconic deep red colors, highly saturated, asymmetric balance. That ratio, we've got the raw style, and we use version 6. So often, like if we were doing a shoot, we'd be trying to focus on the human aspect of the photography. So we're going to try and bring in a foreground character with the backdrop of Mars. And then I'm thinking we got something like a little bit corny, like Mars needs you, or how far are you? We'll see how we go with that. So we're starting to bring those in. And we may need to do something to start making it feel the pointy head on that one is killing me. Okay, there's something interesting there. Okay, we can work with that. That's like they are placed in Mars. We have the doctor there, and maybe they're running short on supplies. So let's see what we can do with that. Whoop. That one there. We want to vary it. We want to rerun it. We might want to reframe it. So we can, I want to do, maybe zoom out just a little bit so we get a bit more of the scene. We want edit prompt. Let's fit in the sun. Maybe we'll take red color out, highly saturated. We zoom out a little bit so we can use some of that. In the meantime, I am going to strongly run that as an option as well. So we're going to have a couple of things processing in the background to give us some more potential and possibilities. Okay, there's some interesting things happening here. We've got the edges being filled in. And then we'll see what happens with this one. Ooh, even more red. Red colors. And something interesting about that piece of light over there. Laura FOMO, fear of missing out. Yes, there's probably quite an associated cost with shooting directly on Mars. Let's see. Really like the sort of lighting that's coming in here. Let's have a look at that one. Okay, I think, especially compared to those other concepts, we are, ooh, I'm not quite 100% happy with what he's carrying, but let's upscale it creatively and see what we get than that one. And I like this piece of lighting here. It's not quite illuminating the way we would, but let's do a creative upscale on that one. What's up? We'll see what we get. Interesting piece of light on that side. And I think whatever we get here, we will carry forward and we will make it work. I'm thinking things like time is running out on Mars or something like that. I mean, maybe that's a Red Cross mission. Maybe it's not a war. Maybe it is just that they are there and supplies running low. Let's have a look. See, of those two, I think we're going to use this portion of the one on the left. Every second counts. Something like that. Let's see where we get to. Got that image down there. Ooh. Interesting. And nearly complete on this one up here. I think for now, let's take this. I would re-roll her face a little bit, and I'd be tempted to change whatever she's holding, but we'll go with that image for now. And will you scroll across with me? Nope. Let's quickly update the source for the video. Share screen, entire screen on that side. Lovely. So we've got a sort of prepped board here. Something that we could turn more easily into. Yeah, I think upon reflection, maybe we do that red hue separately. I'm thinking that maybe some of these original images were more interesting. There's interesting looks on their faces. I think, let's try that. We can creatively upscale them later on. Boom, boom. Bring that out there. Something like that. So we got, you know, we'd have some sort of company logo. That's a given. We're going to work on this tagline, some sort of text. We got this nice white font with some drop shadow there. We're going to try and get it to fill in that space quickly. What can we put it in? Mars. Supplies are low. Time is short. Donate today. That's what we get from that. Donate now. Boom, boom, boom. Let's cut that out. We can resize that a bit more creatively over here. Let's put out that donate today. Stick that somewhere else. Ooh. Mars red cross. Mars red cross. Let's call it appeal. Let's take that piece out, make it more of a bigger call to action. I just short time is donate now. And let's quickly throw in a bit of drop shadow just to help those pop. Maybe we'll move that logo to that side. Actually didn't like them. There we go. Let us export that and stick it into a mock-up. That one, artboard, just the whole thing. And let us find our place it mock-up. Upload. Oh. Sweet. So I think we would be 60% of the way there in half a day. Could make a really interesting potential shot for a previs for a campaign. So there's something really interesting about the way AI can fill in the gaps between having a completely stock image and having a completely custom shoot. So if we think about cost and quality, you know, the quality is really high on a stock image, not necessarily always what we want. And the cost is pretty low based on a license fee or a monthly subscription. And if we think about the amount of time that we need for a stock versus the cost, we can see that the time is very quick. We have to find what we want. We sometimes have to adapt what we want to what we find. And the cost is also, again, pretty low. If we look at a shoot, it costs a lot of money and we produce high quality. It takes a lot of time and we produce high quality. Can't hear me. Interesting. That one there. That one there. Check. I'll try that there. Thank you, Laura, for your feedback there. We'll see how we get on from here. So from there, if we look at the area underneath the space between stock and shoot, if anything can be higher quality but cost less, or can be quicker and cost less than a shoot, then we have the potential to disrupt the way that we use stock and photo shoots. And at the moment, with that cost and that quality, as we are able to refine our abilities and produce what we want specifically, we have the potential to be higher quality than stock, more specifically what we want. Still can't hear me. That one is happening there. Let's move this up to here. Is that any better for you? Testing, testing, Laura. Can you hear me? 1, 2, 3. Is this working now? Yes or no? And it takes a few seconds for any messages to come through that you may be sending me. And we will assume that it is working until we know otherwise. I'll keep listening and checking out for your message, Laura. But we were saying no sound. Interesting. Still no sound. That's working from here. That's working from here. And our volume is at maximum. Should be in presentation mode. And that sound, for you at least, that's very true. Well, tricky. Let's try and wrap it up best we can with no sound. AI, potential to be better quality at lower cost, and faster with lower cost as well. And is likely to only get better in terms of quality and to get quicker in time. So is this the death of the photographer? Its strengths are its speed. AI strengths are its speed and its uniqueness. And you can create surprises that you weren't expecting. But its weaknesses are if you want real people, if you want places, or you want events. And as we move into an era of not knowing the real from the AI, authenticity will be increasingly a piece of your perhaps brand promise. Could this be the death of the stock photographer? Maybe. There are a number of pieces of software that are integrating AI production directly into the tool. And it's going to compress the lower end of the market in a way that as engineering programs were developed on the computer and graphics packages came out, they trimmed away the number of lower level roles to increase and multiply the reach of a single person. But of course, there are opportunities in terms of the prompt creative, the ability to creatively pre-visualize and create references for a shoot, that ability to use the real world knowledge of lenses, stock and film types in order to create specific effects. And you'll have that ability to multiply the reach of your hands out into the world and produce more assets more quickly. And if you are able to specialize, then your ability to produce at scale is going to increase vastly with the support of AI. So that's my thought on the death of photography. I think the individual shoots, the places, the people, and that authenticity will mean photography survives, but it is going to hoover up the bottom side of the market and challenge the way that we use stock photography. I'd be interested in any of your thoughts and hit them on the thing below. And we will be looking at next week the death of the illustrator and how we can use consistent styling and tools within something like MidJourney to create consistent character sets.